Hey everyone, so a different video today where I'm going to dig into the world of niche website investing as a source of income. I decided to get in two experts who run a cool business focusing on all things niche websites. Look, the cash flows can be exceptional and can give you a lot more freedom than working a job. Adam and Mark will answer questions in the comments below, so please hit them with comments that you have and questions and whatever further you'd like to know. And if you like this topic, let me know in the comments as well so I can go deeper into it into the future. All right. So I have Adam and Mark from Niche Website Builders to talk about a very interesting alternative investing option. Mark or Adam, can you guys tell us about Niche Website Builders and how it works?
Go for it, Mark.
Okay. So, all right. So Niche Website Builders. We're a digital marketing agency essentially, but from a different kind of digital marketing agency. So we work with generally individuals, and we work and on the very highest level, we're helping people to monetize blogs. That's the best way you can kind of think about it. And we're helping people from people that have got a full-time job, they got a blog on the side, we help them monetize that, right up to investors who have no idea how to set up a website or do SEO or make money via a blog, but have capital that they want to deploy in essentially building an online asset that will make them money on a monthly basis, but something that they can build and grow and sell, further down the road. That's the very highest level.
If as an investor, if I was to just say, look, yep, I don't know any of this stuff. I don't know how to do SEO. I don't know what type of website to build or anything like that. Do I just give you guys money and you guys just go off and build something, or how does that work?
Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So, in essence, it does. It can work like that, but we're a full end-to-end service. So usually that would start with a call with one of the team to tell you a little bit about kind of the opportunity and kind of answer any questions you've got, and then it will progress through to you're interested and you wanted to go ahead with that. And then from there, then we would take you on a little bit of a journey where we understand a little bit maybe about any topics you're interested in, or if we are going to build on something called an age domain, what the opportunities in our age domain inventory look like. And then from there, we then go away, we do our research around what topics and what keywords we should be creating for that website in that space. We'll send that plan back to you. And at this point, again, you can either have no input or you can have as much input as you want around these topics look great, these were what I was expecting or not what I was expecting. And that comes back to the team. They create the content, they build the website, they do all the things required to launch a website that we would do for our own websites. So that includes internal linking and setting up Google Analytics and submitting the sitemaps to Search Console. So you don't have to basically worry about a thing. What you get back at the end then is, here is your website. We've added you to Google Analytics. We've added you to Search Console. Here's the login details for the website. These are the things typically that we would look for initially to show kind of initial traction and initial growth. Here is what the plan looks like after that. This is when you need new content. This is when you need new links, and what that plan looks like going forward for the next 12 months, etc. So really, in essence, you literally have to know nothing. You can come on board and the team can guide you through that whole process and do everything for you.
Cool. What's the minimum investment? What's the minimum amount you would ever take?
Yeah, so in terms of minimum investment, you can get started with a website which has got, I think, a minimum package for a done for you website build is 30,000 words, comes in at about $3,500 US. Mm-hmm. However, that's just a starting point. We'll probably talk about it in more depth later when we come back onto kind of returns and things like that. 30,000 words is a good starting point and a good foundation, but it's not going to make you a ton of money in terms of return. With Google, there's two major kind of ingredients, and that's content, good quality content, going after the right keywords, and good quality link building. And you need both continually over a period of time for it to be successful. You can't just dump 30,000 words onto a website, 3,500 words and 30,000 words, and then do nothing and expect it to be a success though.
Yeah, cool. The reason I'm talking to you guys in the first place is because I actually do have a little bit of experience in this, and I've invested in companies that have website properties. So I'm a little bit familiar with what's going on here. Hence, I'm doing most of this for myself. I hope people find this interesting as well. But so okay, 3.5 grand gets you started, but that's, like you said, that's really not going to cut it from getting any sort of return on investment. Where's the sweet spot then? Where would you recommend is like the optimal budget for optimal return on investment?
Sure. Yeah. And that is a really difficult question to answer in this space, because it's not like a traditional investment where you typically put X in and then get Y out the other side, and it's predictable that way. Websites have a ton of different variables, the main one being Google and how Google treats the website and how much kind of traffic Google gives you. So up until recently, we've almost always said you need to be adding content and links continuously over a period of time. And if you do that at different levels, you will see success. However, that's not a great answer, to be honest. Like for someone like yourself, who maybe has done alternative investments or more traditional investments, it's hard for you to gauge an ROI straight off the bat like that. So we're currently working on quite a big data project at the moment, where we are looking at between 3,000 and 4,000 content site and affiliate sites that we would build, and we are categorizing them into different niches, and then we are breaking them down into three major variables. One is time, so how long the websites have been alive. The other is content, so how much content, how many pages of content each of these sites have. And then the last one then is their backlink profile. How authoritative are they? How many backlinks do they have? And through that, we should be able to predictably give some kind of variables, i.e. if you would like to get to 100,000 visitors per month, which should equal X in revenue, then on average, you need 18 months, you need 400 pieces of content, which would look like X in terms of investment into content. Mm-hmm. And you need a domain authority rating or a backlink profile that looks like Y, which will also cost you X amount. And we can then start projecting out ROIs. Up until recently, it's been a bit fluffy. We just say more is better. The more content you have, the more links you have, the better the results. But hopefully that will change very soon, and we can start predicting or at least trying to map out and roadmap out what that looks like for first-time users. Yeah. Interestingly, once you've been through the process once, you know that works, and you know that you'll make an ROI on the back end. Like when me and Mark start our projects now, like we know that there'll be a time of period where we're investing time or money and it's not showing a return initially, but we know it'll come at the end. For new people going through that, we need a database kind of solution which shows them that, rather than just saying, hey, we've done it, we've got all these case studies. But you need something more solid than that, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Every website is going to have its own like nuances and its own, the traffic. Like let's say a pet website is going to have different ad spend compared to a finance website, for example. So the traffic numbers, like $100,000 at the pet website compared to 100,000 visitors on the pet one and 100,000 on the finance one, are still very different, because the finance one's going to make more money off that one, I assume. So I understand that, generally speaking. From an investor point of view, if I don't know, like, is it going to return me any sort of money whatsoever, it's pretty hard to say, oh, let's just see what happens kind of thing. So with any case studies you guys have had in the past, can you talk me through some of those in terms of like how long it took to start earning money, the website start making money, and then what was possible?
Yeah. So, I mean, Adam and I, we run our own portfolios, and that's how we met before we started the business. And, we believe in the process, we understand the process, and we go for it. And that's kind of, we just understand that some take longer than others and things. But yeah, it's worth talking about like, what is the return? And, generally like the bottom end of like, isn't, typically that bad. And the top end, the opportunity is huge. But even like what you consider like a failed project or a not such good project is actually not as bad as you'd think it was, in the true sense of the word. So, I mean, I'll give you a couple of examples of case studies. Like one is like our standout case study that was exceptional and is not typical of like what we see for every customer, but it's like we don't. And I'll kind of give you an example from my own portfolio of one that's kind of that I did as well. So for one customer, we started a website on an age domain for them. It was a reasonably powerful age domain. I can't remember. No, I mean, not except like not huge. Do you remember what it was, Adam? The rating DR of it?
Yeah, 42, I think, something like that.
Yeah. So it was an age domain. If you're not familiar with that, is a domain that existed for a business before. So a business had that domain, they no longer wanted it for whatever reason, or they didn't renew it, and those domains have some SEO value inherently built into them because they've been around for a while. They've got backlinks and that kind of thing. So we pick them up and acquire them for clients, and then build sites on them because they tend to take off more quickly. They get, they've already got some authority within Google, so that's great. So this site, we ended up for the customer, we ended up piling on some content. I think it started off with about 200,000 words of content, and it was very, very quickly and very, very observably, it started to take off. Within a few weeks, it was kind of, you could see the trajectory it was on. And this customer that came to us was an investor. He wanted us to create him a portfolio, so he started a few websites at once. But this one was the clear winner. So we said, look, this one's doing great. You just need to double down on this one right now, because this one's going to really show you a great return, like clearly. And after around 13 months, I mean, just to cut a long story short, we did do some other work along the way by essentially we redirected additional age domains into that. So you can do that to, again, increase the authority more. So along the course of a year, we added in another 6 domains, and we added content as we went. But after 13 months, the site was earning around $40,000 a month. And if you can sell websites, and this is, I guess, where the return on investment comes in, you can sell websites for around 40 times what it makes monthly. So it was making $40,000 a month, which means it was worth 1.6 million after just 13 months. And obviously that he invested quite a bit along the way, about 185,000 along the way. But don't forget, he was earning 40,000 a month, so he didn't have to invest all of that 185,000. A lot of the money was just reinvesting like what he was earning back into that asset, essentially.
Yeah, interesting. That's a good example of something that goes really well. Yeah, tell me one about something that that flopped. Is a flop just essentially it just doesn't make much money and it's still growing, like you're still working on it? Is that kind of a flop?
The way that we look at like the ones that like we describe them as a flop are ones that they just take a lot longer. They're a lot slower to get there. And actually, even ones that are just like really laboring, there's still stuff you can do, which we'll come on to as well. But they're laboring, and for whatever reason, they just didn't make it. But when you look at those, quite often they're still making some money. And once you apply the 40x multiplier to them, and it's a very liquid market, it's very easy to buy and sell websites. You're generally looking not much worse than a break even.
Okay.
Rarely do you find that you've just completely wasted all that money. And there's also value in the content that you create anyway. So say you decide, okay, this didn't work for this domain, I'm just going to maybe pick up another age domain and then try the content again on that one. So you've still got, you don't kind of lose that entire asset if you feel like this website is just too painful to continue with. But what the ideal situation is, what Adam and I often do, is we start multiple sites, we seed them all with a bit of content, and we can kind of gauge, okay, these ones are performing better than these ones. We're just going to invest more time and money in those ones because they're going to be easier to get a bigger return on. Yep,
that's a pretty cool strategy. I like it. How's, in terms of longevity of websites, let's say, is there, you said like a website can kill it after, say, even a year. And some can labor along, but when they do get going, I assume the runway is still going at the moment, but the question I would have is, what's the longevity of the website? Like what's going to blow this investment up?
Yeah, so I mean, generally there's many websites, right, that have just been running for years, decades, and just continue to do so. The one big factor, I guess, that you've always got to be concerned about is Google and Google's updates. So especially the core updates, your website could get hit by one of those for whatever reason. You might not know it. There's ways to mitigate that risk. Generally, if you're doing things well, and this doesn't always apply, right? But generally, you're doing things well, you're doing things properly, you're not trying to take shortcuts, which Google would disapprove of, and you're building an asset. Actually, you're treating it as a real business, not just something that's going to be a quick win or whatever. You're treating it real. Maybe you're setting up social media profiles for it. You're kind of being active on there. You're generally doing things that will make you look like a real business, then the risk is kind of much lower. But there is a risk that Google will come along one day and like take a third of your traffic away, right? Just at the drop of that hat. And that can happen. That does happen within the space. Then you can kind of try and look back and go, okay, well, what have I missed? And try and look at all of the things that to make that foundation of the website more solid. But generally, if you're doing things well, then sites can last for as long as you want them to.
No, I understand. Generally that works the same with Amazon, and as well when I was selling stuff on Amazon, is essentially if you're adding good value and adding good quality stuff, you'll be fine, and you never really run into trouble. So okay, cool.
Sorry, Andrew, just to add on to what Mark said, then there's ways to mitigate against that as well. So the biggest one is to build a portfolio of websites. Okay. So I'll give you a personal example. There was a Google update in May, and I personally run about 14 websites, and one of my websites lost 80% of its traffic in May. But because I've got a portfolio of sites that are all generating revenues at different levels, I lost around 15% of my portfolio revenue, even though one site took an 85% dive. So if I'd only had that one site, then I would have lost 85% of kind of my revenue. But because I've got diversified into a portfolio, it's safer that way. And I think me and Mark are on in this middle ground at the moment, because we've diversified into a number of sites. And it's very unlikely that all of your sites are going to get hit by a Google update. But there's a step further as well, where you can then start diversifying away from Google itself. So the next step for us would be to look for websites or build our websites to gain traffic, maybe from social media or from email lists. So over time, you can insulate yourself from that, what we consider the biggest risk in our space, so the Google update, by number of sites, diversifying traffic sources, diversifying revenue sources. It's not going to happen straight away overnight, but you can get to that point where you'd feel relatively safe in that nothing can come and ruin the business for you.
Great. I like the idea of the diversification strategy. That's good. In terms of individually, you guys, Adam, you just said you have 14 websites in your portfolio individually. What's your plan? Like, are you trying to get that to 100? Are you trying to get that to, like, what are you trying to do individually? It'd be interesting just to hear, because it might be a strategy for somebody else saying, oh, what is possible?
Yeah, sure. And I think that comes down to different personality types as well then. So me and Mark have talked about this to our audience lots of times, about the value of building versus buy-in websites as well. And my preferred method is to buy websites, improve them and flip them over time. So of that 14 websites, there's a handful in there which I consider my core portfolio, which generate cash flow every month, and I wouldn't really want to look to sell them. But there's ones in there which I'm actively working on, which I would like to then sell in kind of 8 to 12 months. So that website portfolio of 14 never stays 14. Next year, it will look totally different. It could be more or less as I sell sites or buy more sites. Whereas Mark is the opposite. He's looking to buy for build for the long term. So he very rarely sells websites. He very rarely buys websites. So it's a different model. So my model is not to get to 100 for cash flow. I prefer the influx of buying a website for 20 grand and flipping it for 50 in 12 months time and having that capital gain rather than the long-term cash flow.
Interesting. Yeah, that's two different strategies, and that's cool. That's good to know. Yeah, look, it's a very interesting world you guys are in, and it's its own beast in its own right. Like I'm in the stock market world generally speaking, but I have dabbled in other investment fields, and I love hearing about these alternative strategies. Like this is a totally different game. So it's really cool. How long have you guys been doing this? How long have you guys been working together? How long have you guys been in the industry? Like, tell me about that.
So I've been working in the digital marketing space for a long time. Prior to this, I was working for digital marketing agencies, and I worked for an ad network. And then like the typical story, I bought a website, I built it up while I was working full time. I was working in the evenings and the weekends and kind of hustling, as like, I hate that term, but doing that kind of stuff. And then I sold the site, and I made more than what I was making at my day job for the whole year. And this was like over an 8-month period. I was like, okay, I'm I need to quit and do more of this. So I did. And then I started building my own portfolio. And then I was on a podcast talking about I guess, frustrations of trying to find freelancers to help me with my portfolio, you know, quality content writers or ones which are just dependable. And Mark heard me. He lives on the opposite side of the country on the podcast. And we decided to meet up and chat and air our frustrations. And Mark was in a very similar position, had a portfolio, struggling to find, you know, good quality
good people or good business or good agencies. Yeah.
Yeah. And we said, well, between us, we've got enough portfolio to build our own team to service our own assets. Let's do that. And then we did, and it worked out well. And we're like, well, if we need this, other people need this. And then Niche Website Builders was born just over 2.5 years ago. So we've been running the agency for 2.5 years.
Yep.
We're now about 150 full-time employees. So there was definitely a need for that service there. It's grown very, very quickly. And yeah, I think one of the things that makes us stand out from other agencies in our space is that we actually still have our own portfolios. We're still actively running this stuff. We're still in the weeds. Whereas I think some other solutions or some other providers in the space, I think they're stuck maybe in what worked 2 or 3 years ago, because it's an ever-changing field. And as we see things change with our own portfolios, we're constantly updating our SOPs and our processes, our offerings to reflect that. So it's kept us really relevant, and we share that with our audience. We're a big fan of sharing 100% of our knowledge, and knowing that some people will go and do it themselves, but a big chunk will say, that's awesome. Now I know how to do it, but I'm still time poor, or I don't have the inclination. So can you do it for me? And that's how we've managed to grow so quick.
Okay, you might not have a good, clear answer for this question yet, but are you guys still going to be around in 20 years' time doing this? So let's say I invested in a website and I needed your help. You guys, what's the plan? What's the plan for you guys for the business? Do you feel like this is something you'll do forever? Is it something that you want to get to a point and go, okay, now we don't want any more clients now? What's your longer term plans?
20 years is a long time, but yeah, I don't know about 20 years, but we've got no plans right now. At the moment, we're really passionate about this business. We're looking to double it again in the next 12 to 18 months. That's kind of the extent of kind of our plan right now, but we've got no plans to move on or anything at the moment. Right now, it's about growing the business and being even better and offering more services around kind of what we do.
Okay.
I think the thing about this asset class is I've been in SEO for 15 years, and I started my first local agency 10 years ago for local businesses, and I only started this about five years ago, running my own portfolios. Even people within the SEO industry just don't think about this being as a thing that exists. Like, I've got all of these skills, and hang on a minute, like, people are selling these blogs for 40 times what they make monthly, and I haven't. Why have I not thought about this before? Why have I not seen this before? And it's not even people outside of SEO, outside of digital marketing, that come into and go, wow, that sounds cool. Like, even people within the space, and I've been running my own agency for a while, didn't even think, hang on, I've got everything you need to be able to do this. And it's a real eye opener as a space for the opportunity is huge. And the space is getting bigger and bigger all the time as more and more people realize the opportunity.
Oh, might have to put out another video at some point, and really go into, maybe I'll even invest myself into a case study or something like that. That'll be fun. Let's talk fees. How much do you guys take? What's the arrangement, a typical arrangement you guys have?
Yeah, so we don't take a fee at all in terms of, we don't do profit share models. We charge it's like an e-commerce model. So everything to do with content is charged on a per word basis, 7 cents per word, and that's the full end to end. So it's not just the writing, that's the keyword research and the idea stage at the start. And then also we do the formatting and upload into WordPress or Shopify, inserting any affiliate links, inserting an image, inserting a YouTube video, etc. So it's 7 cents a word for all of that. And then on the link building side, it's similarly priced on like a per link basis. And this data project that we're working on will start to formulate where we can build out properly customized plans for you. I.e., you say, in 18 months, I want to get to X position, and we can say, okay, well, you need 1 million words of content, which is priced at X, and you'll need 300 backlinks, which is priced at Y. This is what the expected return is. So it's priced on a kind of yeah, like it's a service, it's a productized business. Everything is a per word or a per link price.
Cool. Sorry about my messages going off there. Okay, so let me get out of that. Last question I had was, look, thanks a lot, guys, for having a chat with me about all this. I'm probably going to have a lot of questions come through in comments and things like that. So if we might have to reschedule again, I'll let you guys know about that. But appreciate your time a lot. Where can people go if they want to get more information?
Yeah, there's a bunch of places. So our website is nichewebsite.builders. We also have a YouTube channel. If you search niche website builders there, niche website builders there, you'll find us. You can also, there's a page, media page on our site. You can go and find us. There's a podcast also, which is some different content from that too. We also have a couple of very active Facebook groups, one called Niche Website Flippers, which is a free marketplace for people buying and selling websites, essentially. It's got about 15,000 members now. So search Niche Website Flippers. And another one called Niche Website Builders, which is more strategy and tactics around building sites. And that's around 8,000 members at the moment. That's all the best places right now. We're on a lot of other social channels as well, but if you go there and you can sign up to our mailing list. So we're quite regular, kind of mailing out reminders of those kind of stuff, but also a bunch of other stuff that we add value for in our email list. So yeah, head over to the contact form and you can kind of sign up there as well.
Thanks, guys. That was great. Appreciate it a lot. And yeah, talk to you guys soon, I'm sure.
Awesome.
Cheers, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.